A few weeks ago, a young woman named Nutty Madame 3575 uploaded a punchy 8-minute video to YouTube titled "Fuck You,
So,
Stephen King,"
Stephen
responding
King
to
thinks
remarks
it's
that the
okay to
famed
bash
writer
Stephenie
had
Meyer,
made in reference to
to start
Stephenie
outing
Meyer,
her in
an author
public
who this
because
young
he's not
woman
getting the
revered,
limelight,
but who had
whereas
put a bit
Twilight.
of Randall Flagg back into the Horrormeister. The woman was angry, and she needed the world to know it. Something very important to her had been defecated upon, and she was determined to settle the score. Predictably, the comments responding to her rant proceeded to ridicule her. "This video will always take the award for most crazed and out of touch of reality," said one commenter. Another commenter wrote, "Take a good look, Stephenie Meyer. This is what you've done to the teenage girls of the Western world. You've turned them into this." Roger Ebert recently ignited another controversy with his review of the movie Fanboys, a road movie comedy featuring Star Wars fans traveling to Skywalker Ranch to get a geeky peek at a rough cut of the Phantom Menace. Ebert called the film a celebration of an idiotic lifestyle. Before you could say pitchfork, tar and feather, and various other nods to the 1812 Baltimore riots, the internet exploded. If you did not take kindly to this existential label, a man going by the name of Jimmy Mack wrote into the Chicago Sun-Times and pointed out to the Star Wars fans who volunteered at hospitals, the construction worker whose sole source of happiness is going home after a hard day of labor and watching a new episode of the Clone Wars. But these two incidents raise a very important question. Why are we so determined to dump on and ridicule an obsessive fan? The fan isn't necessarily planting a pipe bomb under a federal building or leaving her kids hungry and neglected because of her obsessions. Well, let's go ahead and discount that EverQuest dad. Forget about him. But by and large, the fan is not necessarily doing anything violent or obscene, save for reveling in the very interests that has caused the fan a spot of happiness, perhaps a book or a movie or some other item that made her day brighter or happier, or that caused that plastic smile she had to wear during her day job to be a little bit more authentic. So what right do any of us have, really, to mock Nutty Madame 3575 because of the way she appears? Sure, you may think that it is a stupid speech, but have you met her? Do you know what she does? Are you absolutely sure that she is like that all the time? And what does her weight have to do with her perspective? Can you immediately assume, like Roger Ebert, that she lives an idiotic lifestyle? It's not that I like Stephenie Meyer. I don't. It's not that I agree with the perspective of Nutty Madame 3575. I don't. And if I had to pick between wearing a set of Vulcan ears and wearing a Stormtrooper helmet, well, I would certainly pick the ears. I mean, after all, have you considered wearing a helmet on a hot August afternoon when the sweat of the helmet congeals against the plastic? You know what I mean. But I do respect the rights of others, those who are kooky, quirky, obsessive, eccentric, and yes, fans, to have an interest or an obsession that runs counter to my own. I mean, for all I know, an eccentric may be onto something. Let's consider the self-taught amateur Heinrich Schliemann. He was a fan by our contemporary definition, and yet this was one of the guys who discovered Troy. Besides, who are any of us to judge someone based on only one sole facet of their being? If I accuse the fan of living a reprobate or an idiotic lifestyle, am I really being entirely fair? Now, if a fan comes to me with an axe and then threatens to get my leg, well, I certainly have the right to defend myself. But what is the physical and emotional cost of some fan blasting a John Williams soundtrack in the privacy of her own home, and you don't hear a single decibel? Stephen Jay Gould once came up with this wonderful little idea called non-overlapping magisteria, in which science and religion can exist within the same area of inquiry. Cannot the same thing apply to fandom? I mean, we may think we're high and mighty, wagging our finger or scolding someone who really loves Stephenie Meyer or Star Wars, but what happens when they nag their finger at us? What happens if we are on the other side of that YouTube video or that Roger Ebert article? That's